Good evening, comrades. It's 7 o'clock, so with your permission, we'll get started. I have started the recording, and I'd like to welcome you all to class number 3. Um, I said in my email of invitation, I need to apologize for class number 2. It did not go as well as what we had hoped. I had not planned uh, uh, appropriately. Um, was a little bit preoccupied getting ready to go to Washington D.C. the next morning, and so I do want to apologize for the uh, lack of good planning for that class session. I appreciate all of your patience that stuck with us. The last in class number 1 and 2, we talked a lot about um, the issuance of receipts and the issuance of the use of vouchers. And I think we pretty much beat both of those subjects to death, unless somebody has a residual question about them. In the last session, we also talked about the setup of a ledger. And since then, I've had a number of quartermasters reach out to me about the ledger and the use of computerized ledgers and whether or not the VFW currently endorses any program. In direct answer to that, the VFW presently does not endorse any particular piece of software as a program to maintain a post ledger. Previously, as many of you know, the VFW did endorse and, in fact, sold through the store 2 different products that did that. And both of those have gone by the wayside. Both companies have gone out of business and have not maintained support for those products. And because they did not maintain support for them, the VFW no longer offers them for sale through the store. Many posts that have them still use them and find them helpful. But when they run into a problem, there's no support for them. And many posts that use those have run into a problem when trying to convert or upgrade to Windows 11. And many of those products are not supported by Windows 10 or Windows 11. So that brings us to where is the VFW at in the future? And as many of you may know, the national organization is presently involved in a project of revamping what we affectionately know as OMS, the membership database system. And that upgrade is going to include a software program for quartermasters. The similar program that is being used by the auxiliary through Malta is being the VFW version of this is not an upgrade to Malta, it's a complete rewrite. So it's not just an upgrade to what the auxiliary is using, it is a complete rewrite. But it's going to include some type of bookkeeping software for quartermasters. And as we are told, it will allow quartermasters to do much of what we're going to be talking about tonight. In addition to maintaining your ledger, to creating a report of receipts and disbursements for your monthly meetings. Before we get started, are there any residual questions regarding the use of vouchers or the issuance of quartermaster's receipts? And if so, just raise your hand and I'll try to identify you. If not, then we'll go ahead. I don't plan on going any further tonight than the report of receipts and disbursements. I don't want to get into the details of the quarterly report of audit by the trustees, because that's going to be a class by itself. So if we can, we want to stay focused on the report of receipts and disbursements. The manual of procedure for quartermasters used to stipulate that this was a monthly report from meeting to meeting. And quite a few years ago, they changed the wording in the manual procedure to now say that this is a report on transactions of receipts and disbursements for any given period at a regular or special meeting of the post. And the reason they changed the wording for that is because many posts were creating the report of receipts and disbursements based on a calendar month, and many were reporting the receipts and disbursements from meeting to meeting. And so the question arises, what's right? And the answer is both are right. It is a determination of the post what they want. Now, if your post meets on the third Thursday of the month and your report of receipts and disbursements is on a calendar month basis, that means you've got 3 weeks maybe between the end of the month and your meeting, and a lot can happen financially during that period of time. So are you serving the best interest of the post? Well, that's up to them to dictate. And it's up to the quartermaster to try to meet that dictation, that requirement that the post wishes to impose. So we've got posts that their reports of receipts and disbursements are from the 15th to the 15th, and others from the 20th to the 20th, and others, like I said, from meeting night to meeting night, and others based on a calendar month. And the key here is be consistent. If you're going to be month to month on a calendar month, be consistent. Don't change up from month to month and report different periods. So the report of receipts and disbursements is a report of all of the receipts and all of the disbursements made for a certain period of time to be reported at a regular post meeting. And back in the day when many posts met twice a month, we used to have one meeting known as, quote unquote, the business meeting, and the other meeting known more as a social meeting. And the report of receipts and disbursements was only given at the business meeting. And other posts did it at every meeting. So what is tradition in your post is perfectly fine as long as you are consistent. Do we have any posts here that make up their report of receipts and disbursements at anything other than a calendar month based on the end of the month? Do most of you, Dan, you do it from meeting to meeting or from a certain date?
For my post, I would let Brandon answer for that. For District 6, I typically use our quarterly audits as my report of receipts and disbursements. And then if there's additional information that has happened since the end of the quarter, I do try to convey that to the membership as well.
Yeah. Mr. Williams, what do you do? Dan Williams there, you raised your hand for a minute, did you? Can you hear me, Dan? Okay, he's not unmuting.
Try that. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you, Dan. So what
All
you
right.
had your hand raised. What do you do in your post?
Well, I do it meeting to meeting.
Meeting to
And
meeting?
this is the first time one of these, so I didn't know I had to do something. Now I figured it out. So, as far as the mute goes,
Well, once again, it's a matter of tradition. As long as you're consistent within your post and it meets your post members' expectation.
it is.
Okay, so um, once again, there's no right or wrong. It's consistency that's the issue. Um, the VFW provides a form 4208 for the record of report of receipts and disbursements. And when the VFW provided these, they provided it in a triplicate form. One copy to stay with the quartermaster, one to be given to the adjutant, and one to stay with the trustees. As you know, the VFW is eliminating they're not furnishing and do not intend to furnish in the long term these forms. Is anybody still buying them from National, or I got to be honest with you, I don't know if National's still offering them or not. Um, the online version obviously is a single page, and if you're going to do duplicate copies, you either got to make a copy or carbon them. But the requirement that at the end of the meeting, when the form has been completed and read at the meeting, a copy should go to the post adjutant, be included with the minutes of that. Excuse me, the minutes of that meeting, and a copy should go to the trustees, because the trustees theoretically are going to use it as a source document for their quarterly report of audit. The report of receipts and disbursements there is a copy on the forms and guides page of the department website. We encourage you to look at that. And I'm going to attempt to bring one up here. Okay, I'm not having a real good luck with my share again. I'm not a share aficionado. Um, Can everybody see that form? Somebody,
Got it.
It just came
okay,
in.
okay. This version of this is a fillable Word document. I'm trying to create a fillable PDF version, and I wasn't having much success. I was able to convert this to a fillable Word document, and it seemed to work pretty good, except it doesn't total. And I have to work with that a little bit to see if I can get it to automatically total. But the report of receipts and disbursements relies on many of the things, the elements that we talked about in our previous meeting. And the first thing is, what's the period? And once again, consistency is the basis. Are we running from the first of the month to the end of the month, or are we running from the 15th or meeting night to meeting night? What's the time period to be reflected in this particular report? And what's the date of this meeting that this report is going to be given at? And the first entry is the receipt number in the receipt column. So the intent here is that you've got a receipt book, and your receipt book is in chronological order, and that you record all of your receipts. Now, of course, in today's environment, for instance, from National, you may have receipts reported on your bank statement that did not come to you in cash or in the mail or handed to you, but rather by ACH. You may have other forms of income that come to you by ACH. For instance, you may have interest earned on a savings account or something like that. So, you may have items here that do not have a receipt number, and you can just type in ACH, for example, and that can stand in place of a receipt number. And you may have received per capita dues from National. And how much did you get? You got $33, whatever it is you got. So you can is that a little bit better visual for you?
Yes.
Okay. You can record those any way that you see fit, but the purpose, of course, is that you record all of your receipts, regardless of where they're from. And you want to have sufficient detail with your receipts so that when it comes down to assignment of where that money should go in your ledger, you've got enough information on this to tell your post members that are going to be looking at it where that money was assigned, if it was dues or if it was a donation or if it was income from a dinner or whatever it was. You want to have just enough information there that makes sense so that both them and you know what account that money is going to be reflected in. The report of disbursements is based, it calls for vouchers. Many posts don't put their voucher number here. They put the check number. And if the check is written by EFT, they just type in EFT and where the disbursement went. The disbursement went to National for dues. And we used to back when we did dues by hand, we used to harass our quartermaster quite a bit that he would write dues many. And we would want a list of the members that he transmitted dues for. And so he got into a habit of attaching a list to this report of on a certain date, how many dues did he transmit and who are they for. In today's environment, you probably don't do a whole lot of disbursement for dues because a lot of people are paying on online themselves. But if you do, you want to make sure that you know who that dues was for that you transmitted. A disbursement, we if you've got room on your report to list both the voucher number and the check number, we would encourage that. But you need to have a record because there should be a cross-reference, of course, between the voucher number and the check number anyway. So just be consistent. You're either going to use the voucher numbers or you're going to use the check number. And there should be, like I said, that cross-reference back and forth between the two. So the purpose of this whole exercise is to give your post members a picture of where is your money coming from, how regularly does it come in, how do you report it, how do you verify what account it goes into, or what bills are being paid, and what account are the bills being taken from. So the upper part of this form is that record of receipts and disbursements, and hopefully they're all being done in chronological order. And no matter whether or not it is done by electronic deposit or it's done by check or it's done by cash, doesn't make any difference. If it's a receipt or if it's a disbursement, it needs to be recorded. One of the problems that we have is I have a club room, and the club room has their own record keeping, and once every month or once every 2 months, the club room transfers money from the club room account to the quartermaster's book, to the quartermaster's ledger. How do you record that? Well, it is a receipt, and you write a receipt for that to the club room from the club manager. $2,000. And when that is done, then you're going to decide, okay, is that going to go into the general fund, or is that going to be split between the general fund and the house fund, or what? How is that going to be split? And down here, you've got in this particular case, you got a club room account. So you're going to show a disbursement from the club room account and a receipt from receipt to the general fund, or whatever fund you put it into. So in this case, there was a receipt, and at the same time, there was a disbursement from the club account. The key here is this report needs to monitor all of those kind of movements of money from one account to another. And you say, well, it never left the bank. Well, it didn't, but it moved from one fund to another, one account to another, the club room checking account to the post checking account, however it went. So you want to make sure that this is a reflection of the financial activity of the account that's being displayed. Some post keep a separate report of receipts and disbursements for the club. They may keep a separate report of receipts and disbursements for the bingo fund or the kitchen fund, and that's perfectly fine. But then when funds are transferred from those separate funds into the general fund, into the post ledger, um, you want to make sure that that's properly recorded. So how you do that is up to you, and as long as it is agreeable by your trustees for audit purposes, that's perfectly acceptable. Are there any concerns about
You muted yourself, Barry. We can't hear you.
I muted myself. I apologize. The report of receipts and disbursements should be read at each meeting, and um, accepted. Now, we used to call for a vote for the report of receipts and disbursements. Many posts don't call for a vote of that receipt or of that report. Or they may vote on it subject to audit. What do most of your posts do? Do you vote on it at each meeting, Mr. Williams?
We vote on subject to audit.
Subject to audit, okay. Robin, you're shaking your head the same. So a lot of times it's read, and the commander may ask, "Are there any questions?" If nobody has any questions, it may be accepted as read, subject to audit, may be voted on, subject to audit. The key is that it is read. Some posts have a habit of producing them and handing them out. And then some posts have a habit of handing them out and then collecting them. They don't want them to leave the building. There is no prohibition against a post member walking out of the building with a report of receipts and disbursements. The prohibition is on him in his obligation that he will not discuss any business of the post, any person not authorized to receive it. So you're trusting the integrity of the individual member if you do that, and it's perfectly acceptable. We should not have any secrets amongst our members in terms of where our money is coming from, or how it's being dispersed, or what funds it's distributed in. The bottom portion of the, see if I can bring this back up without. I want to come back on. Here we go. Can you all see that again?
Yep.
Okay. The bottom portion is a distribution of funds. And this statement of funds or distribution of receipts and disbursements should reflect all of the funds of your post. And if you have, you may edit this and change the description, but all of your funds should be described here. And this may not be enough. You may have more funds than this. As we last meeting, we talked about a chart of accounts and how many funds a post may have. They may have a couple of different kitchen accounts or that kind of thing. So the manner, the way that your funds are distributed should be reflected here. And even if from meeting to meeting you don't have any receipts or disbursements on that particular fund and there's no activity, it should still be recorded with a ending balance for the period. This does not attempt to reconcile your funds with the bank statement. With the bank statement, you may have outstanding deposits or outstanding receipts that are not reflected yet. So this is not to be, should not try to balance itself against the bank statement, but rather it should balance itself against the ledger. And between meetings, if you are recording reports of receipts and disbursements and distributing it in and out of designated funds, all of the totals should match and they should match your ledger. Now, if you've got outstanding receipts and disbursements that may be in your ledger but haven't cleared the bank yet, that may not be true. Your ledger balance may not balance against this report of receipts and disbursements. So your membership has to know that this is an actual report of actual receipts and disbursements, and many of which have possibly have not cleared the bank and therefore do not match bank statements. The outstanding checks or outstanding receipts and disbursements that are, of course, are going to be taken into account when the trustees do their quarterly audit. This report, many posts audit this report and have the trustees sign it that they have reviewed it. There is no requirement by the bylaws or the manual of procedure that be done. Although there's a clear implication that by virtue of the fact that this is a copy of this report is to be given to the trustees, that the trustees have at least examined it, if not audited it. And if it has been audited by the trustees from at each meeting, it should be signed by them. If it's not audited by the trustees, obviously they should not be signing it. They only want to sign something that they've actually audited. Many of you actually have your trustees audit the monthly report of receipts and disbursements? Anybody? Some of you do. Okay.
Yeah.
The ability for the trustees to examine that document, audit that document, uh, certainly will help them when it comes time for them to prepare their quarterly report of audit. Once again, it becomes an issue of from meeting to meeting. Are all of the trustees there at every meeting? It's just, how many trustees are signing it? Within your post, you kind of monitor that and do what the desire of the membership is. Do any of you run into problems with the recording of receipts and disbursements at all? Do you
Barry?
all use the paper form, or some of you use a form that is created by your software program?
We use
Yeah.
the form.
Barry, I do all of my work on the computer with QuickBooks and Excel. And I have converted this to an Excel spreadsheet that really only has one column. And the left column is a tracking number. And so it's like a voucher number, but it covers everything. And then in my comments is where I will put my check number and or any other thing. And the third suggestion I have is instead of trustees, put the officers in there so that they can review it and sign it. And it's not to hold anybody accountable. It's for training purposes because the junior officers at some point may become the commander, and the commander is responsible for all this and has to know the general flow of the business.
And you bring up two interesting points there, Tim. Thank you. A previous version of this form many years ago required the commander to sign it at every meeting before a copy was given to the adjutant. They took the commander's signature off of the form. The other thing that you bring up is you're using kind of a for lack of a better term, a bastardization of this through a program that you're using Excel or using QuickBooks, which is spitting out a report for you. And is there any problem with that? And the answer is no. The requirement is that whatever form you are generating, number one, it contains the same information as if it had been recorded on this form. So as long as it is containing a report of your receipts and a report of your disbursements, and they are auditable, they're traceable, and you've got good record to match it. For instance, you're saying you're using a transaction number that may be generated by QuickBooks, for example. And that's perfectly fine. You've got some cross-reference there in your primary source document, that what the check number is, etc. The key is that whatever product, whatever form is you're generating, that it contain the same data as if it had been generated on this form. So don't be concerned about, gee whiz, I'm not using the right form. Be concerned more about, as you've pointed out, the information that's being displayed. Is it telling me and telling my members a picture of the receipts that have come in, how those receipts are distributed, and the disbursements and how those disbursements are accounted for from the funds that they're drawn from. Am I giving my members a proper picture?
Yeah,
And
Barry,
yes,
there's one other thing that I have on my form that's not on this form, and that is transfers. When you transfer money from one fund to another or from one bank account to another, it's neither disbursement or a receipt. You already have the money. And so at the end of the year, when you get ready to generate your 990, if you don't have a record of the transfers to subtract it out, you're giving the government the wrong, what your total receipts and total disbursements are.
well, and I think I mentioned that when I gave you an example on the form of a transfer from the club room, from the canteen to the general fund. I mentioned that
Okay.
transfers are important, and whether they be done from one bank account to another or funds within the bank account. If they're done between in your checking account, for example, and your checking account's got a number of different funds that are contained reflected in that checking account, a transfer from one fund to another is appropriate, and to be properly reflected on the bottom half, that it's a transfer from one fund to another, a receipt and disbursement. It's also got to be reported on the top half in order for those total disbursements and total receipts to balance. And so it sounds to me like you're behaving exactly correct. And you bring up a good point, that making sure that all of those internal transfers, they are a disbursement or a receipt, um, and should be recorded as such. So it sounds to me like you're on the right track. Um, and once again, it will help you when it comes time for the quarterly report of trustees. Any other comments on the monthly report of receipts and disbursements? It's a rather straightforward form, kind of hard to mess up, but every once in a while we find a unique way to mess it up. And it's always a teaching moment. So I encourage you to use it as a good record, because it should be a source document for your trustees in the preparation of their report of quarterly audit. If we're through with this, I've got a couple of things I'd like to touch on, because, like I said, tonight's class is going to be just a little short because I didn't want to get into the report of quarterly trustees audit and leave that for a single class. The end of the month is coming, and we all know that this is going to be the end of the quarter and new audit period beginning. This particular audit period is important because of the upcoming state convention and the requirement that all posts be current with their audits in order for them to be able to cast delegate votes at the state convention. So this report of audit for the period ending on March 31st is due April 30th. And for those posts that tend to have a little bit of a problem getting the trustees together, and that are traditionally working real hard into that second 30-day period, coming up to state convention, that can be a problem. So you want to pay attention to try to get that report of quarterly audit in as early as possible so that we don't have a problem with you being able to cast your delegate votes at state convention. The other issue coming up is March the 31st. And the membership report dated March the 31st is the membership report that will tell you how many delegates you will have to vote with at state convention. And we anticipate that by the 2nd or 3rd of April, we will be sending out letters to the post quartermasters telling you how many delegates you will have for vote at the state convention. And the problem we run into every year, I get a half a dozen posts that say my delegate count that National gives me isn't right. They can't divide. My roster shows that I've got 250 members and the delegate count is one off. And the reason that that can happen is because National doesn't care how many members are on your roster on March the 31st. The issue is how many members are in good standing in your post on March the 31st. So if you've had between July 1 and March the 31st, some members die, they may still be on your roster in terms of your head count, your post membership list. They're not on your physical roster because they've been reported and their name was taken off, but they're still in your membership count. They count against you until June 30th. But when it comes time to calculate your delegate strength, they do not count because they're not in good standing. They're deceased. And so when you get your delegate count, you want to make sure you look at two things. Number one, how many members are on my membership list, on my membership report, and of that number, how many of them have died since July 1 and are no longer a member in good standing. And that answer will account for that minor difference of one delegate vote one way or the other. Like we have a member, one of our posts in our district that perpetually every year has the same question. 7302. He cannot get it. That his deceased are no longer in good standing. And his argument every year is they're still in my count. Yeah, they're still in your count, but they're not in good standing.
Yeah, I don't have to think twice about who you're talking about. So
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, I know. That's fine. He can, if it makes him happy to complain, then I guess we're just gonna have to listen.
Yeah, but he's not alone. I just single him
No,
out,
I know.
but he's not alone. It is a perpetual education problem. So just be aware that when you get that delegate strength vote or delegate strength letter, it's going to you need to look at it carefully and make sure that you don't get caught up in how many are what your membership count is on your membership report, and look at the members in good standing instead. The other issue is we will of course ask for payment for your delegates for the purposes of voting at state convention. And your delegate count is the number of post delegates plus one, the post commander. So if you're entitled to 3 delegates and a post commander, you're going to be charged for 4 delegates that you have to pay for. The number of delegates plus the post commander. The letter that you're going to be sent as a post quartermaster, and that letter does go to the post quartermasters. That letter does ask you to, when you fill that out and send it back, that you list the delegates that have been elected. Please don't send it back blank, because when you do that and a member shows up at the registration desk and say, I'm a delegate, now I got to come find you or find the commander and verify that he was an elected delegate. And you're authorized to list elected primary delegates and elected alternate delegates. So if their name's on that list, either as a primary delegate or an alternate, then they're going to be allowed to register as a voting delegate. If their name is not on that list, then they're either not going to be authorized to register as a delegate, and your post will not get that vote, or I have to run the quartermaster or the commander down and verify that he's authorized to vote. So save us all some grief, fill out the darn report with some names and send it back. When you send it back, we got to have payment with it. Now, you may pay right up until the morning of voting, but you're going to be in arrears until you do it. So if you've the rule is that you have nominations in March and elections in April, and report them in April and May. So as soon as you can do that, the better off we'll all be. And I appreciate his cooperation. I know that many of you, for one reason or another, are not going to have post-elections until May, either because of quorums or somebody's absent or one reason or another. That's life. We understand that. But get them to us as quickly as you can. And remember that you have to pay for the delegates plus the commander who is voting as well. If the commander is not going to be present, but the senior or junior is, list that. Tell us so that we know that up front. Either the commander, the senior, or the junior are authorized to vote. If none of the commander, the senior, or the junior are there, that right to vote does not pass to the quartermaster or to the adjutant. It ends with either the commander, the junior, or the senior. Any questions on the delegate letters that will go out to you? Okay, good. If you don't get that delegate letter, and like I said, we anticipate mailing them out on April the 2nd and April the 3rd. We might have a couple of trailers on Monday, April the 6th. So if you don't have that letter by April the 10th, something's gone wrong. Either we got a bad address on you, or something. So we got 2 district representatives. We got Dan Todd from District 6 and Mike from District 9. If you hear of any posts in your district where the quartermasters don't receive those, please yell at us. Let us know, because it would indicate that we've got a problem. Just today, I got an updated address on our new post quartermaster, so it's important that we have that information here by next Monday, so that we can make sure that all of the post quartermasters properly receive those letters. Okay, it doesn't appear that there's any questions on delegate strength or voting strength. So I appreciate that, and your cooperation would be helpful. Every once in a while, we'll get um, a check from a post that sends in their district dues and their department delegate fees together. They don't understand that the district dues have to be paid to the district, and they get them confused, and we wind up having to do some refunds back to districts after we get it sorted out. So at the district level, as your district quartermasters are sending out those district dues letters in preparation for your district convention to make sure they're paid so they can vote, please emphasize that the district dues are separate from the department delegate fees and need to be paid to the district to account for that. Okay. Any wrap up questions? It's been a short session, and I deeply appreciate everybody's attention. But any general questions that anybody has that they would like to throw out while we got a couple of minutes? You, sir. We got you muted. Okay, I still got you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Yes, sir. The as far as putting out your financial reports and people looking at them, are our records what do you call it, open to the public or not?
They're not open to the public, but they're open to your members.
Just the members. Okay, somebody
Yeah.
else they had
Yeah.
told me that it was a public record, so it didn't matter because we kind of put out our reports. They just leave the meetings, but yeah, we make copies and they walk out with them all the time.
Yeah, and you're relying on, as I mentioned before, you're relying on the integrity of your members to keep their obligation and not to divulge the works of the organization to anybody not authorized to receive it. That's
Okay.
their obligation. If they share it inappropriately, and you know, and I know that some guys are going to take that home, they're going to show their wife, and their wife is going to go to the auxiliary, and the auxiliary is going to say, you know how much money they got? And, you know, we don't need to pay them that $400 a month we're paying them. They got more than enough money, and everybody's going to get in trouble.
Very good.
You know, so it serves a good purpose that at every meeting, if it is your post policy to create and distribute that report, to have put a little disclaimer down at the bottom of it. This report is confidential to be retained for the information of our members only, not to be divulged or shared with other parties. And you bring up a very interesting question that from time to time, I probably wasn't your intent, but when you mentioned to the public, there is a provision that the books and records of the quartermaster and the adjutant, for that matter, shall be available for inspection by authorized officers and post members at all reasonable times. What's that mean? What does that mean? That means that at a meeting, John can come up to you and say, "Hey, Mr. Quartermaster, I'd like to sit down with you and examine your books. And do you have the right to say you're not a trustee and I'm not going to give you access to my books?"
No.
No.
You don't have that right.
Right.
He's got the right to request it. On the other hand, he doesn't have the right to say, "And I'll be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to do it."
Right.
Okay, reasonable time with reasonable foreknowledge to make arrangements, and any member is authorized to request access to the books for examination.
Yeah, I think I've read that in the past.
Yeah, and every once in a while we get a member that says, "Well, I asked the quartermaster, and the quartermaster said no," or they couldn't agree on a time or whatever, and we have to kind of arbitrate between the two of them and come up with some reasonable accommodation. But it is important that your members feel that they have access to examine, that they've got some knowledge, and we need to respect that if we're going to let them have confidence in what we as quartermasters and adjutants are doing. So I think your question is very good. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. You don't know? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Um, I got one of my trustees want me to go to the bank and take out the last 12 months statements so he can review them at $2.50 a month. I told him that's fine. Come on down as long as he pays for all the papers that, he can look through all of them. But I don't see why the Post should have to pay $30 for him just to look at 12 months worth of bank statements when I can show him on a computer. But he won't want to look on a computer. He wants the actual bank printed out statements.
Well, do you get your bank statements by mail?
No,
Okay. And most banks now charge you
yes.
for that.
And he
Um,
wants 12 months worth of that.
okay. Do you have online banking?
Yes.
Can you print out a bank statement? I can print out a bank
I,
statement on my online
he
banking.
doesn't want that. He wants the bank's version of the printout.
The same thing.
I try to tell him that.
Yeah.
But am I
Yeah.
wrong for telling him if he wants it, come down to the bank, pull out your checkbook, you pay for it, and we'll get it for you?
I think that he's being unreasonable, and
Yeah,
how
I think so.
you resolve that. If he fails to accept the fact that a online bank statement is the same document as what you would get in the mail if you opened an envelope, then he's being unreasonable.
Every
Uh,
meeting, I print them out the whole month, every meeting.
yeah,
I make about 5 copies. I hand them out to the tables. I let everybody look at them. My books are laid out, everything. It's all open. And if anybody has any questions, concerns, and then at the end, I collect them all up and I shred them.
yeah. Um, can a bank statement available online be saved as a PDF and manipulated to show information that is not accurate? And the answer is yes, it can.
Yeah,
And we have a quartermaster and a post that did exactly that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And hid some record, or, some transactions. It can happen. But if trustees are doing their job and from between meetings and between quarterly audits and looking at all of the documents, not just the bank statements, then that will be discovered.
They
It can't
audit
go,
me monthly.
yeah,
With this
then
monthly report, they audit
right.
me monthly.
Then there should be no question. And I very frankly, I think your trustee is being unreasonable, and your post commander is going to have to take control of it. That's not your responsibility to negotiate. That
Yeah.
that is the post commander's responsibility to negotiate. Um,
All right.
and you're going to put it back where it belongs. I agree with you. I'm afraid
All right.
that
Thank you,
he's
Barry.
being unreasonable. Any other similar experiences or concerns? Okay. We're going to call it a short night. It's been hour and 5 minutes, and I deeply appreciate everybody on a Thursday night, your attention. Next class is probably going to have the potential to be a little bit longer, because the next class is going to be on quarterly um, reported quarterly audit by both trustees, and we're going to try to be thorough on that. Okay. So with that, I wish you all good night and thank you again for attending our class.
Good info, Barry. Thank you.
See ya.
You bet.
Thank you much.
Thanks, Barry. See you later.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Thank you,
Take
Barry.
care, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you very.
Thank you.